Hello, my name is Brian Everett Raduban. I am from the batch of 2007 in Caritas Bosco School. I then graduated in college with a degree of Bachelor of Science in Architecture from the University of Santo Tomas, Manila. I have been working in the past 9 years until now in the real estate development as a design architect that deals with product design development on residential and amenities, site development, project management, and material procurement, to name a few. I am also currently a certified green building professional under the Philippine Green Building Council or PhilGBC. My experience in CDBS were a combination of fun memories and deep learnings. I started as a grade 3 student in CDBS and ended up all the way until high school. So a lot of my relationships with the sisters, teachers, and students were molded and formed. Relationships with classmates were likened to being brothers and sisters in a family. We were growing up together. Naalala ko noon nung una kong pasok sa CDBS, I was a new student when I entered as a grade 3 student. So I did not know anyone. But I remember the classmates that I had in grade 3 were also my classmates and schoolmates up until high school. A lot of them. So parang feeling ko lumalaki kami sabay-sabay. Lahat ng experiences na naranasan namin, all the successes and failures, we went through each other together. So it's like when we see each other now, even today, parang feeling ko kapatid ko sila, para silang brothers and sisters na iisa lang yung magulang namin. So that is what I felt and experienced in CDBS. There was this brotherhood and camaraderie amongst ourselves. I think it was instilled to us by the sisters, the teachers as well, most especially, and the experiences we had in the classroom where we learned a lot of things. I personally was influenced by the servant leadership the school has always mentioned. I love, therefore I serve. And this servant leadership has carried me on coming off from high school until college and up until now as I am working in the real world. And this line, I love, therefore I serve, I always remember when I work, because sometimes when I get stressed and a lot of things has to be done, I always remember this line, because the things that we do in life is really not just about for us and for anybody else, but it's really for God and for His glory. And our love for Him and our love for people emanates from the service from our hearts. So that's why I really can relate with this line, I love, therefore I serve. And this is one of the things I learned from the experiences I had in CDBS. Another memorable and fun thing that I experienced from Caritas Don Bosco School is the school retreats that we had. And I will remember it now that I have a son. I am sure I will always be sharing it to him, the stories that we had during our retreats. It was very fun. We went to retreat centers in Caleruega and a lot of them in Makiling, also somewhere in the south. And what I liked about these retreats is that we enjoy doing things together with our classmates and teachers. We bonded together like family, and we experienced these retreats as if we are placed in a certain location where we can meditate and focus on what was being taught to us by the priests and the brothers that were there. And it was really a spiritual nourishment for us. Aside from the learnings we had in school, it was a very refreshing way of learning things about God and about how we can improve our relationships with our classmates, even during that time, as early as that time. The edge of being a Caritas Bosconian in college was that you bring the values and learning you were taught. These were not just theories being said but real-time experiences where one understands the gravity and effects of the values we learn from St. John Bosco and his love for the young people. When I went to college in UST, I understood that UST is also a Catholic university. And I realized from my primary school until my tertiary schooling, all of them were Catholic schools. And Caritas Don Bosco School has a special place in that series of education because it has instilled in me the values that they were teaching us from Don Bosco. For example, run, jump, play, but never sin. I love, therefore I serve. Give me souls, take away the rest. These are just some of the quotes you will always read along the halls of CDBS. But you will remember them once you go through a different season in your life. And I very much have proved that in my own experience. When I was in college, I always remember these words, these quotes that I read in CDBS. Back in high school, I always see them in bold letters, sometimes in the gym, sometimes in the hallways of the classrooms, or sometimes in the chapel. Before, sometimes it never made sense when I was young, when I was in elementary. But now that I am working, that there are some more bigger responsibilities, I now slowly understood what it meant, especially when it said that we run, we jump, we play, but we never sin. And then the souls that are invested, the souls that are very precious in the sight of God. So these are very important things aside from material things that we see in the world right now. So these values I did not create these values. These values were taught to us as Bosconians, and especially in CDBS, which I am very thankful for. And I cannot forget these quotes, I think, in my lifetime until I grow old. I will always remember them, and I know these quotes have a purpose. These quotes are very deep and have lasting implications in our lives when applied in our personal journeys. I chose the career of being an architect. I really did not plan to be an architect when I was a young boy. As I said, when I entered CDBS, I was grade 3. And of course, I never even imagined what my career would be after 9 years, or after high school, or after college. But the idea of being an architect came when one of the class in high school was drafting. I learned drafting back then during high school, and it's one of the subjects that were taught. And I was inspired on how these lines that we draw on a piece of paper can actually be interpreted into a visual form, or a 3D form. And I realized that I had this skill in interpreting what I imagine in my mind turn into something tangible into paper, and something that you can actually see. So I was inspired by that, and initially it was challenging because it was my first time learning drafting in high school. But it was a fun experience. I really liked how to draft in a piece of paper, copy objects and make it in 3D form. It looks very technical. But when I entered college, I realized that there are a lot of things in store for the realm of architecture, and how it affects here in our country, the practice of architecture. So architecture is not just designing 2D plans, designing houses, but you're actually designing the lives of the people using these structures that we design. So it has a very big impact on the lives of these people. So I chose this career because it's a very fulfilling one. When you envision something in your mind and you imagine something and a concept that starts in your brain, and then you slowly interpret it into plans, in 2D drawings, and then you interpret it into perspectives, and then you interpret it into materials. All of this holistically coming together and forming this one solidified concept, and then coming into a reality. That in itself is something that inspired me to pursue this career, because the concepts that you think on something that has nothing, you turn something into nothing. And I can very much relate that into how God created us, where we all started from nothing. It was said in Genesis, right, that everything, there was nothing, there was darkness, there was emptiness. But God, when God went in and He said, "Let there be light," then there was light. So it all started from the mind of God, from His love, and I am very much inspired from that. That's why I chose this career. Now, how to become a licensed architect is another. It's a long process. You have to graduate a 5-year course in architecture, and aside from that, after you graduate, you would need to have 2 years of on-the-job training for you to get exposed on the practice of this profession, so that you understand the theories that were taught to you in practical sense, in real sense, when practicing this profession. So after that, then you get the licensure exam for you to get hold of that license to practice this profession. So really, what I can really share is, for you to become a licensed architect, you would really need to be humble enough to learn from those that came before you. I always do that when I went to work after graduation from college. I tried absorbing everything that were being taught to me by these mentors that I had in this profession. Marami silang mga tinuturo sa akin na ina-absorb ko lang ng ina-absorb, and then I process them, and then I think of ways how I will make it contextualized in my own style, in my own practice of this profession. So it was really a great experience for me in choosing this career, because I had a lot of options running through my mind before. I was dreaming of becoming a pilot or even a film director, but God made a way for me to become an architect in this life. To future Caritas Bosconian architects, let us spearhead the values that were taught to us during our days in CDBS and apply it in every single situation we are in when we practice our profession. The creativity and humility we find from the examples of Don Bosco's teachings resound in our designs and ultimate contribution to our country and communities. It is important for us that the values that were instilled to us when we were young, when we were studying in CDBS, would be then shared to people and to the communities that are around us in practicing our profession. As architects, as Caritas Bosconian architects, it is very vital that we try to impart this to people that we encounter in our profession. Magandang ma-share ito sa mga tao, lalo na yung mga values na tinuro sa atin ay makakatulong din sa kanila para ma-appreciate yung sense of purpose of why we are actually architects, why we are actually doing these designs, because this impacts the lives of people. And when we impact the lives of people, there has to be good impacts to this. There has to be good consequences to this. And for that to happen, we need to apply the values that were taught to us. If we love and then we serve, it will be selfless. It will be a selfless act for us as an example for everybody. And we could just imagine if all people would love and serve each other, what kind of world would that be? if that were the culture that we will be spearheading in our profession and even in our daily life. I am Brian, and I am a proud Caritas Bosconian.